Hi and welcome to Edge of Play's New Coach Starter Pack Chapter 8. This final chapter is about the well-being of your players. In part 1 we'll look at the social well-being of your players, and in part 2 we'll look at the psychological side of things. I wanted to start on this video with this quote: "Football doesn't build character, it reveals it." And from years of experience in coaching, I can see a lot of truth in that comment. Sometimes football brings out the best and the worst in all of us, and shows certain sides to us which we didn't even realise were there, just when that competitive nature kicks in. It can also be, though, that idea of who's going to work for the team, who's going to support others and put the needs of others before them sometimes, but also who doesn't give in, who's resilient. And you learn so much about all these different facets of a character in football. What I would say is we're working with young people. As a coach, if it's not the football that's particularly building the character, you can help build it, and the team as a whole can help build that character. But it's a rocky path. I think the older the players get, it's still possible to develop those characters at any age, but it gets more difficult because people have kind of hardened around the character they believe they are. It's even shown in scientific studies as well, isn't it, that the brain is so much more malleable and will soak things up like a sponge when we're younger. As we get older and we've built our worldview and decided on what we think about things and how we feel about certain things, we become less changeable on things. That thing of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, it's not true, you can, but it is a bit harder. So if you're working with young people, you have a great opportunity to kind of set them off in the right way. So as well as those football developments you'll be looking to make with them, the social side can set them up for life. I think one of the first things you have to consider is, why are the players here and what do they want to achieve? And at grassroots level, that's quite difficult because the answers to those questions will be very different. There'll be some players that might end up, in the professional game, maybe some in the semi-pro game, some at a high-level amateur, some that just want to play, social football. And working that out and trying to manage that is very challenging for a grassroots coach. Those different kind of needs from the players, those different motivations, and understanding that we don't all have the same motivations, and that's okay. You can even ask that question outright to the players: why are you here? What do you want to achieve out of this? And you'll get the answers, and the players might even reflect then on that when they actually think, oh yeah, why am I here? Because sometimes we're so used to just the patterns and the routines that you think, what am I doing this for again? I want you to think about how you can enable players to interact with different friendship groups. They'll come along, maybe their best friend, and they may hang around with them a lot. How can you try and build different relationships? Because they don't all have to be friends at the end of it all. They need to be able to work together as a team. And so in terms of developing those social skills, can you get players that aren't friends away from the pitch to have a productive kind of working relationship at football, in a place of work? You're not with everyone you want to be with. You're with some people that you're totally different to and have very different views with, and so on. So you can be preparing your players for those situations through football. And I think one of the reasons football can help players socially is because if they enjoy football, their mind's open. They're enjoying it, they're in a happy place. Sometimes certain subjects in school, for example, pupils will come in they were a closed door. They didn't want to learn more because they were angry they had to be there, and they had to be there. That feeling already feels like you're imprisoned. But with football, they've chosen to come here. Or their parent has, but they've chosen to be there. So they're kind of a bit more open and receptive to taking on new information. So equally, they can be open to improving those social skills as well. If you do it in a kind of subtle way, it will benefit you as well as a team. If your players can work well together, when it comes to a match and you've got to deal with a conflict or a situation, or the team needs to rally together, then those social skills will kick in, perhaps even more than the technical skills. Where possible, how can you make each member of that team feel like they're an important part of it, feel valued and like they belong there? And it's difficult because certain players will always kind of demand the most attention. The loudest players will demand it a lot, and it can be easy sometimes to keep going to that same player who keeps volunteering to do a skill for the rest of the players, for example. And it was exactly the same in teaching. The same people put their hands up, and then there's certain people that want to put their hand up but think, well, I can't compete with that person. Can you make each member of the team feel like that they have a voice there and they're important. Some will be horrified if you ask them to do a demonstration in front of the others, so you'll learn that and you don't do that to them. You don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But if you can involve them a little bit, make them feel like they've got a role to play, that builds these characters up a little bit as well. Again, it's not the football that's doing that, it's you and the players together building up their esteem so that they can actually start to value what they are thinking, and then eventually they'll find that voice to accompany that. And importantly, how can you promote these social skills and the behaviours you want them to exhibit? So if you want them to be respectful to the referee, and you want them to be winners, or you want them to have a growth mindset and always believe they can improve, whatever it is you're hoping to instill in them, how can you kind of model that? How can you praise it when they're doing the right behaviours and showing the right behaviours? If players are falling out and on the pitch, and that will happen, and nothing productive comes from it, can you visit that in the team talk? In the long run, you'll have stronger players for it, and players that can work in a team, and football is absolutely a team game. So if you can get these social skills right, it might not help you next week or the week after, but in the long run, you'll have players that can deal with more situations and are more flexible for different situations too. Consider your role as a coach and football's role as a sport in preparing people for a future in society as well as the game. Your role, it goes beyond just can you do a drag back and can you put a good cross in, and that might seem overwhelming at first, but it's actually quite nice as well. It's a wonderful thing when a player or a student from your past comes back and thanks you for what you did with them. And I have those fond memories of my coach, absolutely. They made me feel more confident as a person overall. And I think that's the reason that I ended up being a coach myself, and then I can then pass that on to someone else. It shows how broad your role can be and the influence you can have on people, which, you know, if it's a positive one, it's a fantastic feeling. You might develop these skills at training, in matches, in team talks, but it can also be in social events you do. You see how people interact away from the pitch. When you take away that competitive nature of a game, people can be totally different with each other. So again, you can be looking at that and giving them the freedom to enjoy those social gatherings. It does so much for a team and the bonding, but a little bit as well, you can try and get people to work with different people. And can you just informally be observing that a little bit and seeing how people work together? Can you help them out a bit with their social skills and how they deal with things? All in all, you want people on the social corner of things. You want them to come, feel safe, feel like they're enjoying themselves, feel like they belong in the group, feel like they have a voice in that group, and feel like they're with people that value them. When you get everyone on the same page or something, it's a great feeling to be part of that team. So that was part 1 of chapter 8. In part 2, we'll look at the psychological side of things and see if there's any ways you can support your players in that area.